Projection.
It's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And we've got a lot of stuff to get into this week. A lot of stuff seems to be popping off with AEW these days. As Ricky Starks said on Twitter a couple days ago before he deleted it, I wish my coworkers would keep their damn mouth shut or something like that.
In front of the camera and behind the camera.
Yeah, we'll get to all that in a minute. But before we get to the AEW stuff from the week, let's go over some WWE. I only watched about an hour of SmackDown last week. I watched the Braves because it was getting a critical time for them late in the week. So I watched the first hour or so of SmackDown before I switched over to the Atlanta Braves. Came in hot with a honorary Uce off the top.
He's just the best, right? There's nobody else more entertaining in professional wrestling than Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
and he really is it really is almost by like a long shot. He's kind of lapping. There are guys we like. We like Jon Moxley. We like Hangman. We like all these guys. There's an electricity. A joy that Sami Zayn brings to the screen.
For certain in WWE, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot that I'm tuning in for, honestly, now. And you started telling me about this storyline with him, and that's kind of what piqued my interest. And the first thing I saw a couple weeks ago, I was laughing my ass off at it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in.
He's hilarious, and like we said, like this should not be as good as it is. But the reason it is this good is because Sami Zayn is that level of performer, and he's in a group with Jay and Jimmy Uso. Uso. Why can I not fucking pronounce Uso? Jay and Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns, like they're the top dogs, and he has fit in there perfectly and carved out his own little niche. And so yeah, they start off the show. He's doing the dancing. It's all great. And yeah, I think, for its totality, SmackDown is the best wrestling program on television right now. And it's because they're doing all the little things that really suck you into this universe, into this world. Like, they did the thing with Maximum Male Models. Did you see that where they're trying to break the pose record backstage?
No, you told me about it, though.
So, like, I'm all in on Maximum Male Models, too. But, like, it's just this little mid-card group. They're trying to break this pose record, and so they're just doing this goofy stuff backstage. But what happens throughout the show, we come back to it, and we have different characters from SmackDown interacting with these people. We had Shinsuke Nakamura interacting with them for a brief second. We had Kevin Owens interacting for a brief second, and then Kevin Owens walks down the hallway, and he sees Sami Zayn, and they have a brief interaction. So it's just little storytelling elements that AEW doesn't do, because AEW does no kind of invisible camera stuff whatsoever. But because WWE they do that mode of storytelling, it allows these opportunities to where you can have these characters move in and out. And now it feels like when we tune in on Friday nights, we're dropped into this world that all these characters inhabit. And we kind of get to see their interactions of it. And it's small little things, but over the course of those 2 hours, those small things add up and really make the program, it kind of propels you through the entire 2-hour program. So I thought SmackDown Friday night was fantastic. I'm a big fan of Karrion Kross. I think he has a very cool look, and you would have to go back to probably, I guess, Lana and Rusev to really find a valet that elevates their talent and the way that Scarlett does Karrion Kross. But unlike the Rusev gimmick, I don't know if the Rusev gimmick ever could have topped out as being a world champion. Karrion Kross can be a world champion.
Yeah, for real.
He's got this kind of look, and he's talked about it before, why he shaved his head and did the old, like, BDSM gladiator type shit, or I guess that was forced upon him, but, like, this thing now is being like this harbinger of doom with the TikTok and the hourglass. Like, everything is just pitch perfect with that guy.
Yeah, the entrance is pretty cool, too, when they go to black and white for a minute.
Yeah. And it's things like that. We talked about entrances last week. That was our big, entrance songs. And the way somebody has a song or the way their entrance comes out, how you can tell that the company perceives them, and like Karrion Kross has a black and white shit, and you can tell that they really think highly of this guy.
There's a little production on it.
Yeah, and he's a badass. Looking at my notes here, Hit Row, that was the group that Swerve was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch them because I wasn't watching WWE at the time. Just watching Hit Row for these past couple of weeks, I have to assume that Swerve was the biggest star of that group, and that's why this group isn't working for me anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you because they didn't really come in until after I quit watching WWE. A couple of years ago when I went full time AEW.
Yeah, I mean they seem to have some stock in this Top Dollar guy. He's fine, but this gimmick just isn't working for me. A gimmick that is working for me, Imperium. I'm all in. I'm all in on Gunther. I'm all in on the other two dudes. I don't even know their names, but they look badass as a unit. And their segment that they had with Sheamus, who has now become like the babyface of babyfaces, as the guy that'll take an ass whooping and just keep on coming. So their little segment where Imperium beats Sheamus down. They go to walk off. Sheamus grabs a mic. He's like, "Is that all you got?" Like it's a drunken bar fight. Just great stuff. Again, simple, short. Like professional wrestling doesn't have to be complicated. It's when you try to make it complicated where shit starts to muck it all up, right? Shotzi, also don't know who she is. She's decent, but she's not great in the ring. But that fucking tank, that's the first time I've seen that tank.
They said that they just brought it back. It was gone for a while.
Well,
and she's one of those that came in after I quit watching too. So there's half the damn roster. I don't know what's happening right now. So I got some catching up to do.
Yeah, we got a lot. Both of us got a lot of catching up to. I've only been watching for like 5 weeks. That tank is fun as shit. That's awesome. Again, there were kind of moments in her match with Bayley where she seemed kind of like stuck in the mud. I don't know how green she is or if she's been doing it for a long time, but just give me the tank and let it shoot off the pyro. That was fun as hell. The main event between Owens, Gargano, and McIntyre versus Theory and Alpha Academy, it was decent. Chad Gable is just fantastic in the ring, and he is one guy who I really would like to see kind of test the waters, be it in AEW or in New Japan, because I think that guy has so much star potential, but I don't know if he's going to get it in his current situation, being in WWE where it's kind of the land of monsters, and he's this short stature guy, but just, I mean, a technician in the ring through and through. I like this sort of the revival of Kevin Owens that's kind of happening. I've always been a KO fan, and of course McIntyre is, one of the top guys in that company, looks like an absolute superstar. And Austin Theory, I don't know what they're doing with him. Because obviously, he's got the Money in the Bank briefcase. But he's just not been presented as any kind of threat whatsoever. I don't know if they take that briefcase off of him at some point, if he cashes in unsuccessfully. He has a lot of potential. But
from what I understand, he was the guy that McMahon was trying to push for a while, and then McMahon got cold on him and then retired.
Yeah, he has a look about him, though. Now, they're not helping him out whatsoever. And I think a lot of that is, for especially these young guys, you got to help them out in some aspect. Now he's being presented as kind of a goofball. I mean, that's part of his shtick. Now obviously that's not going to help him going forward. So I don't know what they do with that briefcase. Maybe they take it off of him at some point. Switching over to Raw now. I'm just still out on Judgment Day. I don't care. So the gimmick, they're leaning into it fully. The gimmick between Rhea Ripley and Dominic is that they're fucking, right? That's the gimmick.
Yeah, I haven't seen Raw in a minute, so
she's like whispering in his ear, and it's like this like dominatrix type thing. Like that's the gimmick, I guess. Okay.
I guess, yeah.
Whatever. Be more explicit about it. I think if that's the way it's going to be. That's kind of a, it's a throwback to like Eddie and China and that kind of stuff. I get that, but like you're replacing Eddie Guerrero, one of the greats of the greats, with like Dominic Mysterio, who has about as much charisma as a fucking 2x4. So no disrespect to him anyway. Like it's not disrespectful, I don't think. It just is what it is, right? He's just not very good. Rhea Ripley, awesome.
Yeah.
She should probably be women's champion, or she should at least be fighting the men. Put her in a match with Rey Mysterio and let her beat Rey Mysterio. Like, you have an opportunity here to really do some cool intergender stuff. Although I will say, if AJ Styles joins Judgment Day, maybe that'll freshen it up a little bit. I'm just out on like this pseudo spooky gimmicks that aren't really spooky. There's nothing spooky about Judgment Day. They just dress in black leather and I don't know what they listen to metal music or whatever. Lashley's awesome. Riddle and Rollins. This will be fun. They got a fight pit match coming up at Extreme Rules Saturday.
That's about the only one I'm really interested in, to be completely honest, for Saturday. And I figure it'll be main event. Or no, it'll be close to the end. The Bianca match will be main event.
Bianca will probably be the main event, yeah. I like Rollins. I still don't know why they're doing the whole, like, him laughing all the time thing. It's kind of weird.
I wish they would drop the freaking Rollins.
Yeah, that's stupid, too. Just
apparently he's asked to drop that.
Well, it's so, like, juvenile, right?
Yeah.
Like, it should be, if it's going to be anything, it should be effing, right?
Yeah.
Not freaking. It should be Seth effing Rollins.
Yeah.
But obviously they can't say that. I like Matt Riddle, too. I think he needs a manager. I get that he's got the bro gimmick, and it's like a kind of surfer, laid-back type of thing, but he's like a legit badass in the ring. And I think if you pitted him alongside a manager who could do a little bit of talking for him, he could be a world champion type of guy. He's got the UFC background, obviously, so that should be cool. And then again, we're on the Dexter Lumis watch. I told you 2 weeks ago, if this son of a bitch pops out of a cake, this will be the greatest moment in wrestling. What is Miz having next week? A birthday party.
So do you think they swerve it?
I think they swerve it.
Because everybody's going to expect the birthday cake.
So here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping there's a big birthday cake, and there's a big present, and Miz gets, he gets rattled because he's like, oh, Dexter's in there, and he smashes the birthday cake. Dexter's not in there. He smashes open the gift. Dexter's not in there. And then I'm hoping there's like a bunch of cronies in the ring or something, and Dexter just pulls off a hood and pulls a mask off. He's got like a prosthetic, like Mission Impossible mask, and it's just Dexter Lumis there. Or there's like two cakes, and he pops out of another one or something. Like they bring another one out, and Dexter's in that one. Something like that. I don't know. It's so dumb, and it's so like stupid. But if you're like, I think this is a testament to where like, if you're serious about even the dumb stuff, the fans are going to get on board with it. And like, he hasn't said a word. He's just been stalking him. The Miz is the perfect person to be having this happen to, because he's money every single time. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And like, this is legitimately the Sami Zayn stuff and the Dexter Lumis stuff have pulled me back into watching WWE.
So if they're not doing anything with this Miz and Lumis thing on Extreme Rules, like, how long are they going to drag this out?
I hope they keep going.
Because it's been a minute.
So we got there's so much stuff you can have him pop out of. He's popped out of the ring now. He's come from upside the ring, from underneath the ring. You got a birthday cake. He's been at his house. He's been in his house. Also, hell of an artist, by the way, for Dexter Lumis. He drew a little picture as Johnny Gargano was walking, because again, WWE does this invisible camera stuff. You can really draw people into the world. Johnny Gargano's walking to his match. He kind of looks puzzled, looks over his shoulder. Miz is just unconscious on a thing. Gargano walks over. Miz has a little picture on his shirt. He picks it up, and it's like a comic book rendering of like Dexter Lumis and Miz with a little birthday cake at the bottom. So Dexter Lumis, not only is he a psychopath, but could be an artistic genius as well, which is a cool little gimmick. Braun Strowman, I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know why you bring a guy back and just not have him do anything, but he's kind of cool, I guess, maybe. And then Extreme Rules is up Saturday. So this is kind of this is one of the first Extreme Rules match or pay-per-views where every single match is a hardcore match, which was supposed to be the whole point of the damn gimmick. But like, it'd be like, oh, it's Extreme Rules, but it's just a singles match. You're like, well, don't have it on Extreme Rules.
So do you want to run down your predictions?
Yeah, we'll do it quick. So we got Liv Morgan, Ronda Rousey. They've been feuding. I still think Liv gets the win here. And keeps the belt, but this might be the time where people sour on Liv and they change it back over to Ronda. Then we got Bianca and Bayley in a ladder match. It's probably still too quickly to take the belt off Bianca. I mean, we talked about her last week. She is a certified superstar. And their promo match, or their promo on Monday Night Raw was good too. It looked like a legit good beatdown. so that was good to see. Riddle and Rollins in the fight pit. I think Rollins takes it here just because I think you have to do some rehabilitation with Seth Rollins' character, because I think you're trying to set him up for future and better things going forward as we get closer to like WrestleMania season. McIntyre and Karrion Kross. It has to be Karrion Kross. He just debuted. You got to give him some kind of big win. They're in a strap match. Edge and Finn Balor. I think it should be Finn Balor, but I'm curious to see what they're going to do here because it's an I Quit match. And you necessarily don't want one of your top baby faces in Edge saying, I quit.
True.
So some people have theorized, like, do they do a thing where they kidnap Beth Phoenix and bring Edge's wife to the ring in Beth Phoenix and make him quit that way? Like, I don't know. That could be cool. I mean, Judgment Day has to be more brutal to get them over as a brutal stable.
There's got to be, they got to have something going for them there.
Yeah, they got to start putting people on the shelf or doing real, like, diabolical things. And then the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium. I think the Brutes take it here, so you get a little bit more shine back on Sheamus, because with it being a 6-man, you're not, you're not taking out Gunther per se, and Gunther's not going to eat the pin here because Gunther is a made man. Certified stud as the Intercontinental Champion. Badass entrance, badass moveset. The dude is money. I would love to see a Gunther versus Roman Reigns feud at some point. Probably not going to happen anytime soon, though. But yeah, that's the WWE report for the week.
Word. Well, let's switch gears and get into AEW. We're going to mostly skip Rampage. We'll call back to it with a couple things that went down last night on Dynamite. But the big news last night was more shenanigans backstage before the show started. Depending on what you read and when you read it and all that, there was an altercation between Sammy Guevara and Andrade. Kind of thought it might be kayfabe, a work backstage, because like they had been going back and forth on Twitter the last couple of days, right? And we're like, okay, well maybe this is just work, starting to build a story.
Yeah.
And then Ricky Starks was like, I wish my coworkers would keep their damn mouths shut. And a couple other things came out from some
Evil Uno also tweeted in 2023, Evil Uno will be the only wrestler that is allowed to have a Twitter account, which is just a perfect response.
That's pretty good.
I think with AEW, as with like most wrestling, whenever we hear stuff like this, we just assume it's a work.
Yeah.
I think AEW has reached the territory where you should just assume all this is real until it becomes on the cameras on Dynamite.
Well, one of the last things I read a couple hours ago was that like Andrade pretty much came looking for a fight. Like he showed up with the intentions of putting hands on Guevara.
Which, in Andrade's defense, isn't this exactly what he said he was going to do?
I mean,
so where is anybody backstage with any kind of like sense being like, hey, maybe we should like keep these dudes separate, because he legit said he's going to just kick his ass when he sees him.
Yeah, and if you know it didn't come from your writing team and that it's, a work, then
yeah,
somebody needs to step up and be the boss here.
Yeah. Which, people were like, oh, he's doing this because he wants to get fired. Like we've talked about, I'm just the type of person, dog, if you don't want to be here, there's the door. Walk. Because it's not like Andrade's going to walk back over to WWE and be this huge draw and be the champion. He's going to be exactly what he is in AEW, which is just kind of a talented dude that really ain't got a lot to do.
Yeah, and I would hate it because I love watching him wrestle in AEW, but at the same time, I'm with you. Like, if you don't want to be here, then bounce. But at the same time, everybody got a problem with Sammy Guevara.
That is true. Yeah.
Somebody needs to get a hold of him and say, tighten up. But
again, like, now in Sammy's defense, all this stemmed from an interview Andrade gave, where Andrade just willingly, he was like, I'm not going to name any names, but I'll name one guy, Sammy Guevara. Like, he didn't have to do that. You know what I mean? He could have just been a pro about it. And so, like, for Sammy, in Sammy's case, what you don't want to have happen, particularly in an environment and in a profession like wrestling, is you don't want to be the guy that is seen as someone that other people can take liberties with, both in the ring or backstage or whatever. So I get Sammy being like, hey man, like, okay, fuck you for doing all this shit. Like, you didn't have to say my name or do all this kind of shit. You know what I mean? You know, there's two sides to every story, so who knows what happened, but it seems like Andrade, just walked up and started everything and threw punches and got sent home.
Yeah, the reports last night were that Sammy started throwing haymakers first, and then Andrade got some in. But then today, most accounts are like...
Which I didn't buy because Sammy didn't get sent home.
Yeah. Well, and that was what I was saying was last night I texted you. I was like, well, why didn't he get sent home too? But it doesn't look like... You know, I mean, all things are pointing towards Andrade came in looking for a fight.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, maybe this will wake Sammy up to maybe change some kind of behavior, whatever type of behavior it is that is rubbing these guys in the locker room the wrong way. Because obviously me and you are not. And most fans, the fans aren't in the locker room. They don't know what the relationships between these guys are. So maybe someone is like, hey, maybe Sammy, you know, maybe you need to do X, Y, and Z, and these guys won't have a problem with you. He did get a lot of heat last night, though.
I mean, he's been getting heat for a minute, but he got some heat for real last night.
He showed up in that backstage promo, and the boos, it just started. He didn't even say nothing.
Yeah.
They just started. So, like we have been talking about, is there something for Sammy? Because he is talented in the ring, but his character was just kind of bland. Maybe Tony runs in this kind of direction. You would have to keep it going, but I mean, if you want to talk about getting a monster heel reaction for people thinking you're an asshole.
Yeah, and there were some unfavorable chants directed at him last night as well.
Yeah. Which again, all of it's good if they know how to make money off of it. If they don't, then it'll be an issue. But
so all that to be said, they obviously scrapped the match that Andrade was supposed to have with 10 on Friday with the career versus mask match, and I guess we probably won't see Andrade for a while.
Yeah.
If we see him again at all.
I wonder if 10 is like, God damn it, I gotta keep this fucking mask. Can we? Is he going to Tony and being like, Tony, can we do something where I get this mask off of me, please?
Who can we sketch? Can I just have this against Roosh?
Can we do it against somebody else?
Yeah, just give me Roosh next Wednesday. Let's go.
But no, I guess they're in a trios championship match.
Yeah.
So, all Pac pulling double duty.
Yeah.
Friday night.
He's in shape. He's gonna be all right.
He'll be fine. Yeah, he'll be all right.
So let's get into the matches. They started off with a banger. MJF versus Wheeler Yuta. They said these guys have had some history working the indies the last several years and put on a great match, top to bottom. Some cool sequences in there. I didn't really expect anything less from either of them. Kind of thinking, okay, well, MJF hasn't wrestled in a hot minute. He might be just a tad rusty. Well, that wasn't the case.
No. And they did a sequence where it was pinning combination after pinning combination, and once they got done, what happened? Standing ovation.
Yeah.
We say it all the time.
They were just rolling around. It was awesome.
All you got to do, wrestling is simple. If you make it simple, just put two wrestlers out there, let them wrestle, and you get thousands of people on their feet when it means something, when it has two characters like MJF who half the audience is kind of starting to get behind and the other half of the audience still despises, and a guy like Wheeler Yuta that for the majority of the audience, they're fully invested in his character. So, yeah, that's all you have to do. And, of course, MJF gets the win, and then it's everything that happened after is where the story's at, right?
Right. So they go with the Ring of Honor angle, which sort of was a theme throughout the rest of the show. So, like, Wheeler goes over to shake his hand as a sign of respect, and he's like, hey, just shake my hand. He's like, be a man and shake my hand.
Yeah.
He's like, that was a great match or whatever. And you could hear him saying it. And then, at first MJF's like, nah, cuz. And then you feel like he's like, okay, well, that was a good match. Because he had even said,
yeah,
I respect you as a wrestler before. I think it was last week or whatever. He was like, but I'm going to beat your ass, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So you saw a little bit of a turn there for MJF, right? Where he was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and shake your hand. And then that gets busted up. And then Moriarty jumps in from behind, hits Yuta, and then MJF's like, "What are you doing?
I didn't tell you to do that.
I didn't tell you to do that." And then
Stokely hands him the ring.
Yeah, becomes a thing.
And then we get William Regal.
Ooh,
standing up, putting on the brass knucks.
Yeah, that was badass.
Just sauntering down to the ring.
Just taking his time.
Gets in there, they go face to face, and MJF does a smart thing and rolls out. So the closer we get to an MJF William Regal confrontation, it's just a great thing. Regal was on commentary putting it over. So he's like, "Hey, I've been a villain my whole career. I never took liberties with anybody," alluding to the fact that MJF pushed Tony Schiavone down. Obviously, Tony and William Regal have a very close relationship. So yeah, that was something. It's a nice little wrinkle here for MJF, because is he still a heel? Yeah, he's still a heel, but there was something last night where it was like, are they going to run in this direction of like MJF being the the torchbearer for AEW, and really liking all these like AEW original guys, still lingering out in the air is this whole CM Punk stuff, and the WWE guys coming in. I think the material is there if you want to run a AEW versus WWE storyline in your promotion. Now, whether they're going to go that way or not, I don't know. But I don't know why you have MJF do this if it's not going to lead to something closer to that fact down the line.
Yeah.
Now, they could come out next week. They have to answer this Stokely Hathaway stuff. Why did Stokely just come down? Honestly, probably what needs to happen is they either need to break up the firm alliance with MJF already, or they need to have a backstage segment where MJF smacks the shit out of Stokely Hathaway and says, "Don't you dare ever again, like, do something. Yeah, do something that I don't tell you to do. Yeah. Like, when I need you, I'll let you know," and like kind of put them back in their place. Because Stokely kind of bodied MJF a little bit last night. He was like, "Put the ring on, do it," pointing to him.
Yeah.
Which is not, if it was a managerial relationship, then that's one thing. But they've made it very clear that MJF he has bought out the firm and put them on retainer. They do his bidding whenever he wants.
Right.
Like, he doesn't answer to them whatsoever.
And he was very adamant that is not something he asked for last night.
Yeah, so I don't know what, is it a little bit of a babyface turn coming? I don't know. It was a cool little wrinkle. And, the more we get of those little storytelling choices, the better off MJF's character is going to be.
Yeah. So next up was a JAS video package and a backstage promo, which presented one of my favorite bits of the night. I literally laughed my ass off in my living room last night. So out of the video package, Daddy Magic is just going psycho with his big eyes, and he's like, "Daniel Garcia, you disrespected Chris Jericho and this gift that he gave you," and he points to the hat. Jake Hager's wearing the hat. Daddy Magic's still hollering, and then Jake Hager just goes, "I like this hat." And I laughed my head off, clean off last night. And I watched it again today at work just so I could fucking laugh for a minute.
Yeah. It's great.
I don't know why that hit me so hard. It was just, "I like this hat."
I like the whole group, man. I've liked JAS, this new iteration of them, for a while now, and I love that Chris Jericho has the Ring of Honor belt, and they're continuing to play on the fact that Jericho is bringing dishonor to Ring of Honor. The Jake Hager thing was awesome. Listeners know how you and I both feel about Daddy Magic and Angela Parker. Just absolutely fantastic. I will say, what happened to the Anna JAS choking people out?
She said it last week real quick.
But she ain't doing it no more.
But she didn't do it now.
You can't do it for two. That would have been a gimmick that would have gotten over if they kept doing it.
They made shirts.
They made shirts, and now they've punted on it. She ain't done it in a while. You gotta give these things time. I think AEW sometimes gets off things too quickly. Yeah. And then sometimes doesn't get off things quickly enough. Like, it's got this weird sort of like schizophrenic nature to it, where it's like the choking stuff out that happens 30 seconds in the show. Let her. She needs to do it for like 2 months, and then you get it over that way.
Yeah, let her fucking choke the camera guy out, because
the camera guy,
he didn't stay on her long. Come on, just give us something.
Something kind of wrinkle to her character. So.
Yeah. So that they were setting that up, because the Jericho and Guevara were in the main event last night. But I just wanted to bring that up just because of the fucking hats thing, because that was funny as hell. So next up, Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal. That came out of the gate real strong with these first. Really the first three matches, bangers, right? So Darby Allin, Jay Lethal go at it. Those dudes put on a show, tore the house down, and then we get the Ring of Honor stuff again, just a little bit there at the end, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they're probably real close to a Ring of Honor TV deal or a streaming service of some sort, because they're just leaning into Ring of Honor lately.
It also could be because, like we've talked about, this show needs a writing team and they don't know what else to do. So, like, Ring of Honor is the new toy that they're going to play with for the next 4 weeks, and then they'll kick that off and do something else with it. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Because even, like, last night's show, for as good as what it was, and the matches were really good, basically the same thing happened at the end of every match, which is, hey, shake my hand. Oh, no, some guys are coming out. And that was the whole point of the MJF thing. That happened in this match with Lethal. That happens later with FTR coming out to save Wardlow. Like, the same exact thing happened at the end of every match, basically. Which is just like, if you have a writing team, you're able to play and hopefully...
Yeah. There were a lot of saves last night. It seemed a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I do like the whole show of sportsmanship thing when you've got two people that have been beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah. Well, in Lethal's case, it's probably setting up a babyface turn, right?
Yeah.
Because you got to line guys up. If Chris Jericho's going to beat all these Ring of Honor champions, you kind of got to start lining them up. You necessarily don't want to do Jericho and Samoa Joe just yet, I don't think. So Jericho versus a babyface Jay Lethal would make for a good little month feud or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can bring in, Eddie Edwards is out there. I'm sure you can bring him in for a week, let Jericho beat him. Like, you got to line these guys up so that you can build up this Ring of Honor Jericho thing and let him get toppled by either a Garcia or a Danielson or somebody like that. So that's probably why they're doing the thing with Lethal. And, once again, Lethal's on TV. He gets pinned. It's just...
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, he's putting on great matches when he's out there.
That's all he does. If I was going to die on this hill, I would have been dead. I've been. My body is just, the flies are around it. I'm the only one left on the hill. People are like, why is nobody moved this corpse yet? Like, he just gets beat literally every single time. I would love to go back and look and see when the last time he won on actual television. And not YouTube, by the way, because YouTube doesn't count.
Right.
A television match, it's probably, months.
He might have won like a Friday Night Rampage or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
That's basically YouTube at this point,
I'd have to go back and look, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a good one. There's a quick 1-2 punch on those. And then next up was Brian Cage versus Wardlow. And these motherfuckers put on a show.
This is what Wardlow should be doing. He should be doing exactly what Bobby Lashley is doing on Monday Night Raw, which is just defending the title and beating guys and looking like a monster.
Yeah, Brian Cage has been off TV for a long time, and I saw a tweet last night, I forgot who it was. It was like, if you're going to be off TV for a hot minute, this is how you need to come back.
But Brian Cage has always been this. His problem is that he's got no character and no really charisma outside of the fact that he's a big guy who's athletic, who can do moves, which is why they've paired him with this embassy group, because that's where he should be. He should be the monster in some kind of stable. But even going back to his indies, he's always been able to do shit like this, so it's not surprising. But, this is what Wardlow should be doing. He should be having fun little 12-minute matches where he's beating guys and he looks unstoppable. It's not... And he should be doing it every week, by the way. That's part of the problem with AEW, which is just like, guys come and then they go. And they disappear for 3 weeks and then come back, right? FTR has been off TV and then they just come back last night to help out their buddy Wardlow. Yeah. Why they're doing this Warjo tag team, honest to God, makes no sense. I don't know why. Figure out something else for Wardlow and Samoa Joe to do, or feud them, put them in a feud against each other. Like, why are they tag teaming? Particularly because the tag team scene is so loaded right now, and the hottest act,
you don't need them.
The hottest act in AEW is the tag team champions. So you got to keep them to be champions for a little bit because they're the best thing you got going on right now. So it's just weird. Still a little like booking things. For as good as these matches are, you still just have question marks. I mean, like, where are they going with this, and why are they doing it this way? Particularly when something like Wardlow is so simple. Wardlow shows up. He's got a 12-minute match. Beats the guy, power bombs him, the crowd goes crazy. That's it. You do that for a couple months, and then you let somebody beat Wardlow or whatever.
Yeah. He's going to fuck around at some point and take too much time between those power bombs. I feel like, and that's how somebody's going to get him.
Could be that.
When that eventually happens. Because last night I was like, they're teetering a little bit too long. But, obviously they weren't going to bring Brian Cage in and beat him.
Yeah.
His first match back in a hot minute. But yeah, I mean, just great match all around. Those dudes both put on a hell of a show, doing some shit, pulling each other over the ropes and going at it, and just badass. And then him powerbombing Cage like he did, and then, because there was those first couple of three, he was taking his time, but I think between number 3 and 4, number 4 and 5. He slammed him and then turned around real quick and just like, bam, again.
Yeah, that's been his finish where it hit him with the one and then roll him back up.
Yeah.
Hit him with it again. His whisper in the wind, too, that he hit, that he kind of fucked up a little bit but then got it back. I mean, to be 270 pounds and do that is a sight to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were going after it for real last night. Yeah. Love that one. So next up, Athena, Toni Storm, and Willow Nightingale versus Jamie Hayter, Penelope Ford, and Serena Deeb. Another good match in the ladies division. I'm a little frustrated that all they want to do lately is just put on these random tag teams per week, or either these 6-person matches. They're not really doing anything for me in there, but it was an entertaining match. It's just, you figure something else out with this division, right?
I mean, once again, that fucking electro music hits. The screen says haters gonna hate, and the crowd goes crazy. I don't know what we're waiting on. We're gonna wait too long and fuck around and screw this up.
Even the announcers last night were kind of leaning in on the, hey, this woman's over as hell right now.
Yeah. And what is she over for? Let's think about this and pull this apart. She's had no really kind of story to get over, right? Nothing.
She's just been a third wheel.
The way she's gotten over, she got a cool look. Her ring gear is awesome. And she's the best women's wrestler in that division. And in AEW, where the crowd and the audience has been conditioned to really care about work rate and really care about the action inside the ring, that's all you have to do to get these people over. That was the whole turn of why FTR turned baby faces, because they were putting on banger matches. That's why all of these guys, basically everybody that's a really good wrestler in AEW is a baby face, for the most part.
Yeah, and they've hinted at her turning on Baker. They just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
And it blows my mind why they're not. Again, it's the schizophrenia. It's the, we're going to get off the Anna JAS choking people out real quick in 2 weeks. But the thing that we should jump on immediately, and Jamie Hayter, we're going to string it out for like no reason. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it needs a spark for sure.
In that women's division, we saw it on Rampage that Friday night, because it was Jamie Hayter and Willow Nightingale. Like, those are two foundational pieces you can have.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we were talking about calling back to, because they had a pretty great match on Friday, and then they were key players in the match again last night.
And Willow has like an infectious personality where if you put her on TV every single week, she's going to get those crowds behind her as a babyface.
Yeah.
The same way with Jamie Hayter. The crowd wants to root for her so bad, so just let them do it. Like, they're telling you what they want to do.
Yeah.
Just make it happen. Let her turn on Britt. It's been years now at this point. It's not like they just paired them together. Like, they did it, and then they teased us a little bit, right, at the pay-per-view. But then they just immediately went back. Whereas we could have done on this thing now for a couple weeks, where now Hayter is building her up, and also you need somebody to try to topple Jade Cargill, right?
Yeah, and they set up a match with Willow versus Cargill, which we discussed at lunch, and like they're not going to take it off of Cargill.
Willow's not there yet.
Willow, yeah.
Jamie Hayter's there.
So yeah, if you're going to do it with somebody like Hayter or Athena.
It's just and again, like all the women in this match are really good, and we, like we've said before, we've never really been critical of the women themselves as wrestlers. The matches have always been really good.
Yeah.
The matches have always been really good. It's just the booking. Apparently, we can only do one women's angle at a time, and I guess that's burned into the AEW gospel somewhere that they haven't told the audience about. But like, you can have multiple women's matches, multiple women's stories. They have the Britt Baker and Saraya thing happening.
Yeah, so that was the other thing.
But again, Saraya comes out last night. Not that big of a pop. It's not what Willow Nightingale got.
Right.
And it ain't what Jamie Hayter got. And you got the women's champion in Toni Storm. She didn't get the kind of reaction Jamie Hayter got.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you need to hotshot these things, but I'm just saying, like,
listen to the crowd.
It's there to just do it.
Just listen to your audience.
Yeah.
Right. So earlier in the evening, Britt cut a promo backstage. It said that Saraya was not clear for contact. And then,
which was smart because, like we said, you need to tell the audience something.
Yeah. So at the end of the match, you see Saraya in the middle of the ring, and you're like, okay, well, she already made it a point to say that Britt made it a point to say that Saraya wasn't cleared. So what's going to happen here? And you can feel it. You can feel it coming.
Yeah.
So Saraya throws a kick and then starts throwing punches. And you're like, oh, and the crowd was loving it. The crowd was, there was a very small crowd last night. They had turned the lights off in the upper section. But it was a small but very enthusiastic crowd. Crowd was on their feet quite a bit last night.
Which that might be something that we see a lot more for AEW going forward. I don't know if we've talked about this yet or not, but there's been a lot of internet talk about their ticket sales recently. So maybe they do have to run smaller type venues. But I think, it's like with anything you go to, right? If you go to like a concert or whatever, and yeah, it's a 4,000 seat theater, but there's, it's half full, it kind of kills the energy. Where if you go to like just like a little dive bar that maybe can hold about 200 people, and that sumbitch is packed and it's elbow to elbow, there's an energy there and there's a vibrancy that'll bleed off. So I think that's what was happening kind of last night. Obviously, they've been in D.C. I don't think they've been in D.C. in a little bit. Part of the ticket sales could be they're running the same damn markets all the time. They're going back to Chicago and for Thanksgiving. They were just in Chicago 3 months ago. So, like,
they've only been to Alabama once.
Yeah, and they've barely been to the West Coast. They really hadn't been to the Midwest at all. So, like, you can run these other markets. I don't know. Maybe you can't. We're not in the business side of things. Maybe it's impossible. I don't know. But
y'all come holler at your boy Conrad.
So
AEW.
Oh yeah, come back here to Huntsville.
I'll be there again. I've been once. I'll go again.
We'll be there.
I'll get some better seats.
But that's how you can kind of grow your fan base too, as well.
Yeah.
But that's kind of getting off on the tangent. Anyway, Jamie Hayter is made, so just do it.
Yeah.
Also, kind of kudos to us. I feel like we were on this before. A lot of people were on this.
You were on it for sure.
Even again last night, just the little nuances. The way she back bumps and gets up off the ring, like, I wish I could explain to you guys how fucking difficult that is and how just next level she is.
Yeah.
Like, it is, it's just so, it's impressive. It's Shawn Michaels level stuff. I'll put it out there. Like, she's the Shawn Michaels of the AEW women's division. That's what she is.
I saw somebody refer to Sammy Guevara as the modern day Shawn Michaels.
No. No. He's not. Sorry, I like Sammy, but he's not that. Shawn had so Shawn was a prick and a dickhead. Shawn also had, though, a magnetism about him that Sammy ain't got, Sammy's hitting Spanish flies and the crowd is sitting on their hands. People didn't do that when Shawn Michaels was wrestling, Now, it probably says a lot that people are referring to Sammy Guevara as Shawn Michaels in all the negative ways, right? And the fact that people want to beat his ass backstage, that's not a good look. But, I wish Sammy Guevara had more Shawn Michaels in him. He'd be a made guy for sure.
Well, let's shift gears to the National Scissoring Day. It was National Scissoring Day. It was trending at one point yesterday.
Let's all take a step back a second, because I think it's funny and it's stupid, but I don't think we realize how awesome and how really wonderful this is, which is these two guys started on AEW Dark. You and I are hardcore AEW fans. We don't watch Dark.
I ain't watched a single match on Dark.
So they have gone from that to doing this scissoring hand gesture, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure Tony Khan wanted to axe and have them not do because he thought it was too lewd. You know, maybe that says something about his instincts. I don't know. But, like, they've just kept it going. It has been a groundswell momentum to where now, 2 years later, on a fucking Wednesday, National Scissoring Day is trending on Twitter, which has millions and millions and millions of users.
And it's the number one selling shirt for 2 weeks in a row.
And it's the number one selling shirt of 2022 by so far.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's not just been the 2 weeks. They've sold more shirts in 2020 than any other shirts. Keep in mind, this is an organization that has Jon Moxley, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole,
Kenny Omega,
Young Bucks. Who's the number one selling shirt? It's the Acclaimed.
Everybody loves the Acclaim, baby.
And this is we talked about when they won the titles. This is the magic of pro wrestling. This is the thing that no other art form can touch, where you have this natural groundswell, and you can kind of see it happening week after week, and it starts picking up in intensity. And, you know, we mentioned, like, they're cutting to the crowd, and the crowd's starting to do it during the entrance. And then it goes from a couple people doing it to, like, a couple more people. And then now their music hits, the whole crowd stands up.
Yeah.
They got the biggest pop of the night. And these are two guys that are not supposed to be there. They're not WWE guys. They weren't guys like MJF that had a lot of buzz on the indies. They were kind of just nobodies. And that's not a disrespectful thing. Like, they just weren't. There's a lot of wrestlers like that are talented. They're just missing one little piece of it to turn it into something good. And they pair these two guys together. They get a hand gesture. They've been great in the ring. They're talented in the ring. It was never that. And they get it over.
Yeah.
And now National Scissoring Day's trending.
Well, the segment was funny as hell. You know, he tried to say that scissoring was a form of a way of high-fiving your friend, right? And so everybody's laughing and like, okay, come on, we're not stupid, right?
But that is what it means to them, right? It is a hand gesture to signal friendship, right? So, like, basically that's there for, like, when a middle schooler gets in trouble for doing it, because it's going to happen. Like we talked about before, Billy Gunn has been getting middle schoolers in trouble since the fucking 90s with hand gestures. Like, if I was in 6th grade right now, best believe I'd be going around scissoring people in the hallways right now. It just would be happening. And so that's a little thing that you can...
Teachers are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm scissoring.
And then you show them the thing. You show them Anthony Bowen's explanation. This is what scissoring is, teacher.
Listen to him.
Listen to him. It's not sexual. It's this thing. So everything about it was great.
Well,
the fucking giant golden scissors.
The giant golden scissors, when he did a damn circle, did a lap around inside the ring with those scissors, I was laughing my ass off too. I was like, okay, that's funny. Yeah. And then, of course, they did the whole don't run with scissors. That's funny as shit. And, like, everybody in the crowd's got fucking scissors they're holding up. There's a whole section full of signs. Just amazing. My only qualm with it was about 2 minutes probably too long. I felt like they lingered on it just a little too long.
I think it was great. I think Swerve coming out too is fantastic.
Oh yeah, his fucking facial features and the way he reacts to some things. It's like it was great directing last night. They knew when he was starting to walk off.
Yep.
He stops, looks back, and boom, it's a tight shot. Yep. Just nailed it. I was like, okay,
that's one of the best produced segments really they've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, and they need. I wouldn't be mad at having more of these type of segments. You know, AEW Dynamite kind of suffers from, and AEW in general, real match heavy, right? Match, and that's what we've kind of gravitated towards. But it can't be all about that, right? You need these little moments that break up,
right?
Where you can have these characters just come out there, and it continues the Acclaimed and Swerve.
They used to do it quite a bit. Like there was one time Jericho and Orange Cassidy had a debate, and
Yeah.
And I think Bischoff was the moderator of that. They've had segments like that in the past.
They've really gotten away from that.
Yeah.
They've even had segments where they did do invisible camera stuff. If you'll remember, like, there was some kind of thing, and it was back when Wardlow was still MJF's bodyguard. But I remember, like, MJF walking into the back of this restaurant. Do you remember? And like Butcher and the Blade were there cutting up meat.
Yeah.
And he like handed them money.
Yeah.
And then the camera like went and saw MJF walk back, and when it turned back to Butcher and the Blade, everybody was in their gear. And again, it was like 45 seconds. But like, I don't know why they're so hung up on wanting everything to be so realistic.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think this year has really showcased that it's kind of hampered their storytelling ability.
I do like the rawness and the grittiness of it over something like SmackDown, but I think you're right in terms of the way SmackDown is handling certain aspects of. But I don't
know. I don't think it's an either or. I don't think it's either. We're either raw or gritty, or we're this thing where we have the cameras and all the kind of storytelling stuff. I think you can do both.
Yeah.
I think you can do it in a gritty type of way, in a rawness, because AEW does have like this punk rock element to it that I think people like you and I are responding to, and other fans. But we gotta have we need these little moments. It's the small, tiny details of a Kevin Owens walking backstage and seeing Sami Zayn, and even though they're not really feuding, it kind of continues their story that they've had going on. So like, you can do that with AEW, and I think because AEW has a punk rock element, you can even do more of that stuff, right? You can get real raw and gritty with it, and have all types of these kind of stories happen backstage. Because right now there is no backstage element to AEW.
Right.
The backstage is the interviewer, and that's it. Like, the AEW...
Y'all fight too much backstage. That's what's the problem.
That's true. But then let's play on that, though. Why don't we have a camera that's kind of roaming around in the back, and we see two guys getting into an altercation, and Tony Schiavone's there, and he's kind of rushing up trying to get the story, like what's going on, and they start throwing punches. There's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
It just seems like they've said the AEW universe starts at the tunnel and goes to the ring, and once it's past the tunnel, nothing exists.
Yeah, because really the only glimpse you get is when there's a backstage thing with like them standing at a TV with Tony Schiavone, or you get just a little bit of Wardlow walking from just around the corner.
Or it's the pre-taped promos.
Yeah.
That they do quite a bit of.
Yeah.
But like, there is nothing cohesive. And
there used to be, like you said, a lot more of that. Like, we used to get
I don't know what happened.
MJF and Wardlow, like, there was, when the fucking Inner Circle busted in on Wardlow and MJF one time.
Yeah.
And shit like that used to happen quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know why they have... I think, like I said, they're so hell-bent on being realistic. And there is an inherent kind of goofiness with a lot of the invisible camera stuff in WWE.
Yeah.
Where like two guys are strategizing, they're going to beat up another dude, but there's a camera out there, and you're like, well, why does the other wrestler not just watch the show? But like, I think there's a middle ground there that they need to play with, because it's really, I think it's holding them back from really their true potential.
Yeah.
Which is, you can have badass wrestling matches and then have really badass storylines that are happening, and really doing really creative stuff in that realm too. So, I mean, again, I think it all goes back to needing a writing team, or just somebody, 2 or 3 people who have Tony's ear, who can convince him otherwise of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think even Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, didn't they like have a thing where they beat up dudes at a gas station? I'm not saying you got to go that far, but like little vignettes.
Yeah, something different.
It can be just anything.
Well, let's move on. Let's not spend too much time on that. Let's get on to the next match. Hangman Page versus Roosh. Didn't do too much to push a story forward, other than like what happened later, but it was a hell of a match.
I mean, it's a great match, yeah. I mean, it keeps Roosh at his kind of high standing of like a dude who maybe is just right there from being a real threat for any kind of title. But this is just a way to get Hangman, on the show, so that you can get his and Moxley's interaction, which was fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, again, we try to, I think, complicate this and make it all convoluted. Like, sometimes you just need Jon Moxley to take a microphone and just let him stand across from a guy.
Yeah, it was
and just let them say words to each other.
It was pretty great last night too, because they were in the smaller venue. He didn't have 7 minutes to make his entrance to the ring. It's like he appears, gets through a little bit of a crowd, and then he's in the ring, and it's like, give me the mic, let's go. And he's like, I've been circling you for 3 years. We've been playing, doing this dance or whatever. I'm like,
yeah,
let's get it.
We talked about this at lunch too. He does not feel. There is no kind of WWE stench on him whatsoever. He feels so AEW in a way that, like, I think a guy like Andrade never got to. And that's probably part of his problem, right? There are guys like Moxley and Adam Cole and even Swerve and Keith, for that matter, that feel like AEW and feel like on that wavelength. And that's a testament to Jon Moxley, because he was in one of the biggest groups in WWE of all time, right?
Yeah.
But he has really elevated himself to a legendary top status here in AEW, and just his little interaction with Hangman, it's teasing you right enough, right? They don't have to get physical yet because they're both baby faces, so neither one's just gonna start punching each other on sight, right? But then you just get the little moment where Hangman's like, "Hey, if you've been waiting, like, let's do it." And Jon Moxley,
Mox was out of the ring, and then I'm back.
And Moxley comes back and just says, "You're a sweet kid, and like a lot of sweet kids here, you talk a lot of shit. Like, watch your damn mouth." So now, we're 2 weeks away from this. Probably next week they get physical, right, to lead up for the match. So they've stretched this thing along. And then, of course, we get MJF with his chip watching. He's still looming over all this.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with it? That'll be, if we get MJF Moxley, that'll be awesome. If we get MJF Hangman, that'll be great.
Yeah, and this was something that I pointed out when we were talking earlier too, was like, MJF Moxley is, not MJF, excuse me, Hangman and Moxley is a damn, that's a match you would think you would see on pay-per-view, and we're going to get it on a Tuesday night. And the thing about Hangman Page is, like, I don't want to say that he can be underwhelming sometimes, because he always does great matches. But when it's time to step up and shine a light on the company, Hangman pulls through.
Well, that was his whole, basically, because he had no story as champion. The story really was, I'm going to just have banger matches because I don't have anything else. They haven't written anything else for me to do.
So, like, Lance Archer.
I'm going to have a Texas death match with Lance Archer, and I'm going to have this other match with Roosh, and I'm going to do all this kind of shit, right? So maybe, we kind of theorized, do they do something where Hangman actually beats Moxley and, wins it, but MJF cashes in? Because I think if you want to do MJF Moxley, you don't want to, if indeed Moxley's vacation is kind of pending out there and it's going to happen pretty soon, I don't know if you necessarily want to rush MJF and Moxley that quickly. I feel like that's a multi-month, maybe a 2 pay-per-view type of thing that you can get out of that. Because you can have MJF feuding with the Blackpool Combat Club and all that kind of stuff like that. Like, there's a way to get more story out of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needs to just be, after this, we fucking do Full Gear for a month, and then that's the length of their program against each other. But we'll see what happens.
It'd be kind of funny if they turn the tables, because, MJF's had a couple of those, like, you can find me, but you got to go through all these fucking stipulations first, right?
Yeah.
So he had the ones with Cody where Cody would try to get his hands on him, which was great fucking storytelling, right?
Yeah.
That was the 10 lashes. That was the Cody doing the fucking moonsault off the cage to defeat Wardlow, so on and so on. And then you had the stipulations for Wardlow to get his match, like, I mean, what if, I don't know, I can't make it work in my head, but what if they were like, well, you got to run through the Black Combat Club. What if Regal steps in and was like, you can get your match with Moxley, but you gotta run through the Blackpool Combat Club.
I don't see that happening, because the running through the gauntlet thing is a heel thing to do.
Yeah.
And Moxley, that's his character is, one, he's a good guy, and two, he's a
But Regal still got
badass.
a little bit of that. He
has, yeah, but I don't know if that would. that could be a thing that MJF does, where MJF beats Moxley, and then Moxley wants an immediate rematch, and he's like, "Hold on, I'm the champion. You got to do this thing. Like you're on my time now."
Yeah.
Because when the belt goes on MJF, it has to stay on MJF until January of 2024.
Yeah.
If we're doing this story, whenever he gets it, he got to have it for the whole year, and he has to you got to figure out some kind of way to make this work. Otherwise, you've just wasted this whole angle, which they could do, I guess. But like when it goes on MJF, it's staying on MJF.
Yeah. Till
2024.
So the next match we had was a squash match with Luchasaurus. It was basically just a setup so that they could set up Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus next week. They keep putting poor old Fuego del Sol in these matches and just keep whooping his ass. Like y'all got other people that can get out there and job.
That's true, but hey, I mean, Fuego he's got the small stature, so
right.
It's got to be somebody.
Yeah,
because I mean the alternative is you just don't get on TV at all, right? So
well, true.
It's either hey you get chokeslammed by Luchasaurus or you ain't out here at all. So what you want to do?
So quick setup for that. It's going to be in Canada in Christian Cage, so that's his hometown.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
I mean, if it's got to come with the name change.
Yeah.
Does Jungle Jack Perry beat the Luchasaurus out of Luchasaurus, or he's got to change his name? I don't know.
So yeah, that'll be fun. I don't want to really spend any time on that. Let's get to the main event: Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Great match. I mean, the whole story with Danielson and Jericho just keeps going and going. Like the two of those guys are going to have a match again next week, match 3. Excuse me. I didn't like. I mean, I say I didn't like Garcia getting pinned last night, but are you going to pin Danielson? Like,
yeah,
it's I don't know. It's tough. I totally get your point about the Chris Jericho angle that they're on right now, and the bringing dishonor to the Ring of Honor, and the part of me that always wants to root for the babyface is real fucking pissed off.
That's the point, though. The point is that Jericho is desecrating this legacy of one of the most influential professional wrestling companies of all time, right? I mean, you look back at. There was a time in Ring of Honor where you could have taken a Ring of Honor card from, say, 2006 or whatever and place it up against a 2015 WWE card, and it looks exactly the same, right? Like Seth Rollins, Claudio, Danielson, all those guys were just in the Ring of Honor, right? So to have a guy like Chris Jericho, who is thought of as a sports entertainer, having this professional wrestling title, the most wrestling company of all time in Ring of Honor. That's a cool story. And like whoever topples him, if it's Garcia, if it's Danielson, if it's somebody else, it'll be a good payoff. I love the fact that they put Sammy on their shoulders at the end of it. That is fantastic heel work. And please to God, let them lean into this and give this kid something, because you have the story there. Like the fucking fight already happened, right? You can't do nothing about that. But what you can do is try to, work the shoot into a storyline.
Yeah.
And so I love, they fucking carried Sammy out at the end of it. It kind of killed the crowd a little bit because they were kind of like, oh, fuck this guy. But
yeah,
we have it here. Let's give the dude something to do,
So do you think they keep it on Jericho until Ring of Honor gets a TV deal, or?
Yeah, until you have. My guess is that Garcia is going to be the one to do it. You got to let Jericho, if he's going to say he's going to bring dishonor to Ring of Honor, you got to actually let him do it. He hasn't really done it yet, right? I mean, he's only had it for a couple weeks.
Right.
So you got to let him do this kind of stuff and get it up. And because they might do a thing where maybe the Ring of Honor TV show is further down the line than what we think. And maybe the first Ring of Honor show was headlined by Daniel Garcia versus Chris Jericho to unify the Pure and Ring of Honor titles, and we could be months away from a TV deal. Who knows? But Watching Danielson at this point it's so like I said a couple weeks ago. It's like watching Beethoven. Like it is. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And like if you don't think that he's the GOAT in-ring performer, I don't know what this dude has to do to convince you otherwise. Like it is just, it's magical. It's pristine. Everything about him. He is just an excellent in-ring competitor. And the fact that we're alive to watch it, it's kind of like how, people's grandparents talked about watching, now I'm completely fucking blanking on the dude's name, the first wrestling WWE guy. Oh, shit. If I call out his name here in a little bit, that'll be what it is. Why am I blanking on this dude's name? Anyway. I don't know. People know who I'm talking about. Or maybe they don't.
Who knows? In other news, though, should have touched on this earlier. They did sign Bandito this week.
Bruno Sammartino.
There you go.
That's who I was thinking about. Fuck. It's like how people talk about Bruno Sammartino back in the day with like this reverence.
Gotcha.
He was the head. The reason why Madison Square Garden is called what it is because Sammartino was in there defending those titles, right? So this is like Bryan Danielson's going to be a legendary type guy where like in 50 years, your grandkids or your great-grandkids are going to be like, what was it like watching Danielson? Because he'll just still be a name that people will know, right? And you can be like, oh, my God, he kicked the shit out of people. You know what I mean? Like, it was awesome to watch. So, yeah. Bruno Sammartino, my apologies to the Sammartino family and to his legacy. He is a true great, and I should have known better, so I apologize. But that is his name. Go watch some of his matches if you are not familiar.
Well, let's wrap up for the week. We forgot to put out a Twitter prompt. That's my bad, y'all. Thought about it late last night. And I was like, well, I should remind Patrick early in the morning.
Yeah, we forgot.
Did I think about it? Thought about it around 3 o'clock, and we were planning to record about 4:15. So wouldn't have done much good. Might would have had a response or two, but we didn't want to half-ass it.
Yeah.
If we're going to do it, we're going to whole-ass it. So we said, fuck it, we'll just do it next week. And looking forward, I may watch a little bit of Extreme Rules. We got Battle of the Belts Friday night after Rampage. So you got SmackDown.
You got a live Rampage. It should be good.
SmackDown, live Rampage.
There's a lot of live Rampages coming up. Quite more than what there's been in recent memory. So
I don't know, man. They may be trying. They got to do something to build it up. It's tough. It's tough for that late on a Friday. And Battle of the Belts is going to be even later. But like, I saw a headline last night that said Tony Khan's making a hard push and has made it known that he wants to be named Booker of the Year.
So fucking stupid. Can we talk about that for a second? That's so fucking dumb. This is... For as much as you and I both love Tony Khan, and he has given us AEW, which we care so much about, we started a podcast, he says some of the dumbest fucking shit anybody ever says. Who gives a damn about these Observer awards that I can't even tell you how people vote on this stuff. But it matters zero.
Is your show good?
Yes.
That's what I care about.
And the show is up and down, and, he is, I don't know. He takes pot shots at WWE, too, and it's just like, man, it's so stupid, because if they started doing that to you...
Well, listen here, Patrick. I'm fucking mad, and I'm not going to take this shit anymore.
He did give us that, right? That's a classic gift that people use. But, like, I just think that AEW should be like... And I know I make this comparison a lot. The WWE is top 40 radio. It's pop music. It's mainstream country. If you're Tony Khan, I think the purpose of AEW should be, let's be punk rock. Let's be outlaw country. Let's be fucking badass rock and roll. Let's be the artistic side of wrestling that really hasn't been utilized that much since, say, like, I don't even know, the 80s or whatever like that. And let's make it a little bit more artistic and a little bit more highbrow. Because you have something like Punk and MJF, which is legitimately the best professional wrestling story of at least the last decade, if not of this entire century, with the depths of storytelling they went to and what they pulled it out. Like, that happened in your ring. So you should be able to kind of, you're not going to replicate that every single time, but that should be the city on the hill, the shining light that you're trying to get to. So his just, fucking punk rock doesn't care about what motherfucker. It doesn't care about what Olivia Rodrigo's doing. You know what I mean? It's worried about its own shit. And so, like, this idea that he is constantly just, like, comparing himself and, like, I'm the best con in the wrestling business, it comes off as just...
It's very little brother
insecure.
syndrome.
Yeah, who gives a shit, bro? You think jazz musicians in fucking clubs care about you? You think fucking Miles Davis cared about what anything was happening back in the day? No. He was too busy on his own shit, being, influential. Like, just do that. I don't know. Maybe it's asking too much. But, like, I think it comes from Tony Khan not necessarily being a creative guy. He's a businessman. And the businessmen, billionaires, they're very competitive.
Yeah, they're competitive.
But, like, that's not, there's a reason why the creative people, for the most part in the world, aren't always the richest in the world, right? What is that band? Velvet Underground, what's that saying? Like, Velvet Underground didn't sell a lot of records, but everybody that bought one of those records started the band. Like, that's how influential they are. That's what AEW should be. And I just wish that they would take themselves a little bit more seriously. Like, his response to any question about WWE is like, I don't care. They do their thing, and, like, it's cool. But, like, we have higher standards, and we're trying to do our own thing over here.
I just wish they quit running their fucking mouths all the time.
Yeah.
Ricky.
Just do Ricky Starks. They should just tape Ricky's tweet and his picture and just tape it on a bulletin board in the back. It's like, whatever you think about doing, just look at this before you do it.
What would Ricky do?
Yeah, Ricky would just wear shirts unbuttoned and fucking sunglasses.
And fucking gold chain.
And shoes with no socks and just look cool. Just be cool.
Loafers, baby.
I want AEW to just be cool. Cool kids don't care about anything else. You know what I mean?
That's what you said last night. I was like, hey, did you see this shit about Andrade and Guevara? And you're like, listen, man, I don't give a fuck.
I just want to watch wrestling.
I just want AEW to have a good show.
Yeah.
And I don't care about all this shit.
Just shape it up a little bit. You got all the potential there. Mind your P's and Q's, do some little things here and there, and you're going to have a rocking show. And you just keep on that. And I think if you just make good professional wrestling, the ratings will come, the fans will come, it'll all be okay in the end. But constantly worrying about what the other competition's doing, constantly worrying about television ratings, that's not any kind of way to make art. That's not how creativity works. Just do your own shit. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, I want to wrap it up and issue a challenge because I am a terrible self-promoter, and Patrick is worse than I am. I'm calling you out, dog.
I'm the worst.
So we need some help building our followers on Instagram and on Twitter. So if y'all will start retweeting when our show comes out, or if you got friends that enjoy wrestling, send them a fucking direct link to the show, to the new show, and just be like, hey, I know you watch wrestling, you might like this. Help us out at Alabama Slam Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep. And
then our main conglomerate page, we are part of a network of folks, of podcasters and writers at the Alabama Take. You can follow the Alabama Take on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them shits. Do it all. And then we've got several other podcasts, part of the Alabama Take network. I've got a Star Wars podcast I just started called We Are a Star War with some of my best friends in the entire world. We only got 2 or 3 episodes out now, but it's pretty fun, and I enjoy doing it, and I hope you listen to it if you like Star Wars. My lovely bride has a podcast called Check Your Shelf. It's brand new. She's only got 1 episode. New one coming very soon. I was a guest on the first episode, and there's Taking It Down, a weekly podcast by Alabama Take co-founder Blaine Duncan. It's a pop culture podcast. They review movies and TV shows and sometimes music and other shit every week over there. Go follow them. They've been going about 2.5 years now. And then Taking on Sports, one of the newest podcasts by T.D. Wood, and I believe the fellow's name is Greg Bosworth. I never met Greg. Sorry, Greg. Some of you know T.D. He sat in for Patrick. Patrick couldn't make the recording session when we were going to review WrestleMania this year, and T.D. is an avid sports and wrestling fan Shout out TD. And then also there's a new season of This Song Sucks coming in the not too distant future. So be on the lookout. Give us a follow. Please share us with your friends. We'd really appreciate it. And we will holler at y'all next Friday with what we hope will be a recap of another exciting week in wrestling.
Maybe minus the fist fights.
Maybe minus some backstage fucking bullshit.
Who else is going to fight? Let's do a quick prediction. Who's the next person getting a fight backstage AEW?
Ooh. If I had to name somebody real quick, let's go with Sammy.
It's right over.
Let's go with Sammy.
Quick, yeah.
That's one. I don't know, man.
I think
I wouldn't have said Sammy and Andrade, but I mean, fucking let's get Roosh involved. Let Roosh defend his boy. No, he just signed a contract. He ain't trying to fuck anything.
It'll probably be in the women's division. I'm gonna say it's Ruby Soho and Ty Mello. So in Sammy's universe, that's be the next fist fight we see.
Ruby just had surgery on her nose, I believe.
Yeah, caused by Ty Mello.
Yeah. So if it ain't Sammy, it's gonna be Ruby and Ty. So y'all holler back at us next Friday. The following week, we hopefully have something very fun planned, and we'll let y'all know a little bit more about that as it gets closer to time. We'll be on the road that Tuesday that the show is going to be on a Tuesday night.
Wednesday.
It's not basketball season, is it?
Dynamite's on Wednesday.
I thought they said it was Tuesday.
Is it next Tuesday?
Not this coming Tuesday, but the following one while we're on the road.
Oh shit!
In Pensacola, it's that Tuesday. Yeah, it's the night Moxley and Hangman are gonna be fighting.
Well, shit. All right.
So yeah, it's a Tuesday night show for some reason. Anyway, that's a couple weeks from down the road. We got something very fun planned. We think it'll be a good time. So y'all holler back at us. Share us with your friends. We'd appreciate it.
Later, guys.